In this video, you're going to learn how to put your torch together and go through the different various stages of creating your torch design. Now, first thing to point out is that you've all got a help sheet. You'll get given a help sheet in the lesson, but if you need one on your screen, you can find it in here. What you should have done at the start is your teacher would have talked you through how to get hold of the student files, which you should have saved into a folder called Year 7 DT, somewhere in your My Documents folder. Double click on that and go into the student files area, and then you'll find Torch Help Sheet version 2. Okay, so this is what we're going to work through, the different steps. If you want to go through it with me, then you can do, but as you can see, it says all images that you see on the internet are pixel based, which means they are bitmap images, but the laser cutter cannot cut out pixels. We need to convert our bitmap into a vector image so that the machine can cut around the lines and engrave the details or the text. First, go on to the internet. Google Chrome is your best option, and start a new tab and just search for the type of shape that you want. Now, it's worth pointing out that if you just search for just the word for the thing that you're looking for, you're going to usually get photographs which are no good. They're not appropriate. There's too much detail, too much color, and what we want is an image that's on a white background. It's nice and simple. So the magic word you add is clip art, and then enter, and then you can see that it will bring up things that are generally more cartoon-like, always on a white background, and always a lot more simple in their shape. Okay, so we're going to pick one of these, doesn't matter which one, find an image that you want, and then right click on it to copy the image. So we've copied that to the clipboard. Now we're going to paste it into 2D Design. You should have it pinned onto your taskbar at the bottom, like I have, but if not, you can find it in here. Start, All Programs, Departmental Student Software, Design Technology, and then it's the blue 2D Design V2. Now, if you haven't pinned it to your taskbar, if you right click on the icon, you can get this option to pin it to your taskbar, which means it'll always be down there so you can use it in future. So there we go, and now that you've got 2D Design open, the menu screen at the beginning you don't need to worry about, you just click and it'll disappear. And then use right click or Control V or Edit Paste to paste your picture. So that's step 1, step 2, and step 3. Now step 4 is that we're going to click on the vectorise bitmap icon, which is this one, vectorise. Then we click on the image. Step 6 is that we go to the monochrome button, like that. And then step 7, just make sure that the foreground color is set to black. Step 8 is to drag the luminance handle. Depending on your design, you might want to bring the detail up or down. We're converting from several colors down to one color, so sometimes it might look better with the detail right up, sometimes it'll look better with the detail right down. Okay, so I'm going to leave mine about there, and then click OK. You can play around with the custom settings, but usually the default ones will work okay. So that's it. We've taken that image now from the internet and we've vectorized it. Now we can move on to part B. This is where we add a contour to the outline. So now that you've engraved the main torch profile design, the blue or the black areas are going to be engraved. Generally keep it black. But we need to create an outline that is going to cut around the outside of the shape, and this needs to be red. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go through these steps. Step 1 is choose the closed contour tool that looks like this. So closed contour is over here. So we click on that. Make sure it's on toolpath, and we're going to change the spacing from 5 down to 2 millimeters, so it's a bit tighter around the outside. Click OK. Change the line color up here to red. That has to be red. There we go. And then step 4 is click just outside the shape. Don't click inside, click outside. There we go. And we've got an automatic contour line all the way around the outside of our object. Now, step 5, assuming that this all looks good, step 5 is the final step, where we go select and drag a box around all of those. So there's two parts here. There's the black area and the red area, and we need to group them together. So we'll drag a box around them both, and then hit the group button at the top. Alright, and then that one is done, and so we're going to repeat that process now and try and get as many ideas as we can. We'll want to get a minimum of 6 ideas. So I've got some more images of my chosen torch design. I've got 6 different ones to choose from, and I've vectorized them all. So we did the same thing again and try and put a contour around them in red. Go to the contour button, click just outside, and that one's fine. This one, zoom in a little bit, is fine, but you can see because it's a small image it hasn't come out very well, so we might not use that one. It's a bit ropey. Let's try this one. So we click just outside with the contour. That one's gone around nicely, that one's okay, but I'm a bit worried about this one. Watch what happens here. So what's happened, because there are some gaps in the edges, it means that the contour has got sucked in and just gone around his hand. So that's not much use, and no matter where we put it, the same sort of thing will happen, which is not a lot of use. Now there is a quick fix to that, which sometimes works, which is to try a different type of contour. So you go, select your object, click and hold on contour, and go to contour selected. Again, we can keep it at 2 if you like, and we'll see what happens. So what's happened now, it's put a contour automatically around all of those. Now that's fine on the outside, but it's given us some kind of yucky looking shapes on the inside. Now we can get rid of those by selecting it and then exploding it to its component parts. Say continue, and then we can select and hit delete on the keyboard to get rid of any bits inside there that we don't want. So that's one method of resolving that problem. There is another method which is on your worksheet, which shows you how to use the line tool and attach. You can use that to kind of just automatically attach lines all the way around the outside. Now for this one it's not really very appropriate, because no matter what I do there, I'm going to be drawing around the whole thing for absolutely ages. So it works fine on some of them, but I think for this one it's not much use. Before I put a contour around it though, I'd quite like to get rid of this stuff at the bottom. So again, to do that, what we can do is explode it. That's actually, yeah, we can explode it and select the different parts at the bottom. Be careful not to select the line. Just carefully drag a box around the bits that you want to get rid of, and then you can get rid of those. Then we can put our red contour back on again by selecting it, going to click and hold contour selected, and then there we go. Select the red bit, explode it, continue, and then we can delete any of the little bits of red on the inside that we don't want. Okay, and that one's done. This one we could do the same, select it and go contour selected. Again, the trouble that we've got here is that because it's only putting a contour around the black, it doesn't really look like the way that I'd like it to. So for this, what I might use instead is just a red line and just literally draw my own outline that I think is going to look a little bit better. Double click to finish, and then to tidy that up, what we can do is select the line, go to start edit. First thing we want to do is to close the edges up. So the red and the green one we need to select and then join them together, and then that gives us a bit of freedom then to manipulate these anchor points and make it a little bit neater if we want to, right? But we'll leave that for the time being. That looks okay. So that's our red outline for that. So there's several different methods then of drawing an outline around the black part that you want to engrave. Remember, we need to group them together, so don't just leave the black bit and the red bit separate. Drag a box around them with select and then group. Drag a box, group, drag a box and group, and we'll do that to all of those, making sure that everything that is inside the box gets selected. Now we're on to the next stage, which is part C, which is where we use the template file. So to save you time, you can use a template file to help you make sure that your torch is in the correct size and that all the parts are in proportion. The template file can be found here. We're not going to worry going into there because you've got them in your own documents. Well, you should have if you did what you needed to do at the start. So back in here, in your documents, in your Year 7 DT folder, in student files, you should have Year 7 Torch Template V2. That's the template that we're going to use. So in this document, we select the parts of our torch that we're going to add into the template and go Edit, Copy, or you can use the shortcut Control C to copy. Now we've copied that, and now we click on the template file and go Edit, Paste, or Control V. Okay, so let's maximize the screen now so we can see what we've got on here on the template. Now that you've copied it in, we've got 3 or 4 boxes over on the left which are to help you to get the right size for your parts. So the first thing that we're going to do is bring the shape over, and we want to rotate and resize it to roughly fit inside one of these green boxes. You might want to switch off gridlock, so let's do that, and you might want to zoom in so you can see what you're doing. And to resize, you need to go to the corner boxes. The middle box lets you move. You've got rotate there, you've got flip horizontally there, and flip vertically there. But the main one we want, and we're going to use the copy afterwards, which is at the bottom, but the main one we want is to resize. So it needs to fit roughly inside. It's too big at the moment. Now if you don't press shift, what will happen is your design will go out of proportion and it'll look terrible. So you can either press and hold shift, which is the up arrow above control on your keyboard, and then resize it and it will keep it nice and in proportion. The shortcut is actually to use the right click rather than the left click. And you don't need to press shift, you can just right click and use the corner handles, and then that will keep it in proportion. And that is really important. We don't want it to look terrible. Now it can be a little bit bigger, it can be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but basically this just gives us a rough guide so that it's not too big so that we can't fit it in our hand or in our pocket. So the next thing that we need to try and do on here is to make sure that the 2 circles in the middle fit comfortably inside. If they're touching the edge, the battery will be sticking out and it won't work. So it needs to have a good bit of space around the outside. Now that's looking pretty good. So there's a bit of a gap between the big circle where the battery is going to go and also the switch. Now the other thing that we can do at this stage is to reposition the keyring hole. So click on that and move that. If I put that here, it will be on his hand. We can get rid of this green box now, and then the final thing to do will be to figure out where we want the LED to light up. At the moment it's coming out of his sort of ear. If we move it here, it will be coming out of the middle of his head. I could possibly put it going that way and have it coming out of his foot. It's up to you. The only thing to remember is that the end of the T shape needs to be crossing or touching the outline. If it's set inside like that, it won't work. It won't cut off. So we need to have it at least touching or overlapping the outline. Alright. If you're going to put it lower down, then we need to flip the switch the other way around so that it's pointing. This part of the T needs to be pointing this part of the switch. So we could have it like that. I'm actually going to keep it the way that I had it before. I think it looked a bit better that way. Alright, so we'll have that coming out of the middle of his head. So it's touching the red outline like that. What we can do at this stage as well is to add some text to personalize it so it's not just copied off the internet. So you might want to use your name or some sort of message or something. It's entirely up to you. If you're going to use text, it might be a good idea to pick a nice font and think about where you're going to put your text. If it's going to go on a white area, then use black text like that. If you're going to put it on a white area, then you need on a black area, if it's going to go into a black area, then you need to make your text filled in white so that you can see it. Right? How you lay that out, what design you put, what text is entirely up to you. You can personalize it. And that is about it. We've got all of the components we need. We've got the keyring hole, some extra details. We've got the switch, we've got the battery, the black engrave, the LED, and the red cutout outline. So that is our master copy. It's got everything that we want on it. So you're going to select all of that and then move it across to this area here, because this is where our master is. We've got some examples to show us and guide us through the different stages of making the three parts. This has got all of the elements that we talked about. Now, first thing that we're going to do to make part one is going to be to make a copy of this. So we can use the two yellow squares to copy. Very carefully, before you click off it, find the box in the middle to move it over to here. So this is the front part. It's got everything that's on the list in green. It's got a red outline, check. An LED slot, check. It's got the blue and the black engraved. It's got the extras like a keyring hole. The only thing we need to do is to delete the battery circle. That's the big circle. So click on it, hit delete. Now part two is exactly the same, just flipped in reverse. So we select it all, copy it, very carefully go to the middle, move it across, and then flip it. Alright, the only thing that is different about this one is that it needs to be a mirror image, but the text that we've created will read backwards. So only the text, everything else I'm going to leave as it is, but the text needs to be turned the right way around, otherwise it won't read properly. So that's the front and that's the back. Now we copy another one of the master, copy, very carefully use the box in the middle, and then for the final part, which is the middle piece of plastic, and you can see an example there. So there's a slight difference. It's got no engraving on it, so we're going to get rid of the black and the blue. Now to get rid of the black and the blue, that's a little bit tricky because it's grouped together with our red contour. So let's ungroup that first. Now you can see we've got the black bit and the red contour separated. So click on the black contour, the black fill, delete it, get rid of that text as well because that's not going to be seen because it's on the inside of the torch. What else do we need to get rid of? So we've got rid of the blue and the black. We need to get rid of the small arc or the switch, which is that one. And the final thing that we need to add is a 3mm double path that connects the LED to the big circle. Double path is this yellow sort of G looking type tool. Click once to start, double click to finish, and that's basically it. And you can see that pretty much looks like the example that we've got there. At this stage, the final part is to copy these onto a new document. We've got our master and we can save this as it is if you like. Alright, hit the save button. If you make any mistakes or if you lose any bits of work, you can always come back and make another version using your master and copy and flip. Really important, it says on the sheet, and I'll say it again, do not resize any of these components. Alright, at the very first stage, the first thing that you do is to resize your design. You do not resize the parts. These are exactly the right size to fit the LED, the battery and the switch and so on. So if you resize those parts, it won't work. Always resize your torch to fit inside these boxes and then keep these bits intact. Okay, so we're ready to then put this into a new document and start laser cutting it. We are going to select all of these three bits. We're going to edit copy them and put them into a new file. So go to the new file button and then paste them in. You could, if you want to, at this stage group them together. It's probably quite a good idea to group them together now. And it would also be a good idea to move them as close to each other in the top left hand corner, so we're making them ready to be laser cut. There's a few little things that we can do to tessellate these. We could turn him upside down and allow that to move a bit closer. That will help us to minimize wasted material, which is good for the environment. And that is ready to get cut out. We need to save it as our name, so we're going to go File, Save. It's going to ask us where. It's probably a good idea to save it in your Year 7 DT folder that you've created. And then we're going to save it as our name, followed by the color plastic that you want to use. Now I'm going to use white plastic for this. Okay, and then hit save. And then the very final thing to do will be to copy it and hand it into the shared area. If you go to your documents, find that file that you've just created, Mr. Brockhouse White, you click once to select it, hit Control C on your keyboard to copy it, and the hand in folder is going to be in here, Shared Documents, Design Technology, double click Documents, double click Hand in, write me or Mr. Slabber or whoever your teacher is. You should have a folder called Year 7 Torches, and you should also have a folder for your group. And when you've found your folder for your group, you can Control C. Right click usually doesn't work, so you have to hit the keyboard shortcut to Control V to paste. And that is now handed in, ready to get cut out. So good luck. I'm sure they'll look fantastic. In the next lesson we're going to be laser cutting them and assembling them together.